The numbers permit no sentiment. October 14th, 1943, Mission 115. Target, Schweinfurt, Germany, ball-bearing plants deep in the Reich. Distance from England, 580 miles round trip. 291 B-17 flying fortresses take off before dawn. They climb into formation. 4-engine bombers, 10 men each, defensive guns bristling from every angle, but slow, stable, vulnerable. 60 bombers do not return, 60 aircraft, 600 men gone in a single day's operation. 20.6% loss rate. Unsustainable, unacceptable. The arithmetic permits no argument. At 400 miles from England, the escort fighters reach their limit. They turn back. Physics demands it. Fuel gauges and empty tanks write the law. P-47 Thunderbolts. Magnificent aircraft. Tough. Powerful. Their combat radius ends where German airspace deepens. The bombers continue alone. Messerschmitt Bf-109s and Focke-Wulf FW-190 rise to meet them. German fighters climb hard. They position ahead of the bomber stream. They attack from the sun, from above, from dead-on frontal passes that shred cockpits and kill pilots before the formation can respond. The gunners fire back. 50 caliber tracers arc through freezing air. Some German fighters fall. Never enough. The Luftwaffe owns time itself. They attack, disengage, refuel, return, again and again. The bombers have nowhere to hide at 25,000 feet. No escort, no protection, just aluminum skin and prayer. This is the air war in autumn 1943. Strategic bombing is failing. Not from lack of courage, not from poor tactics. Simple mathematics defeats doctrine. Range equals survival. American fighters do not have range. Captain Sterling Barrett watches the mission board at RAF Debden on the morning of October the 15th. 28 years old, P-47 pilot, 83 combat missions flown, 11 confirmed kills, an ace by any measure. This morning he does not feel like one. The intelligence officer updates the casualty list from yesterday's raid. Barrett reads the names. Some he knows, most he does not. Every name represents a crew. 10 men per bomber, 60 bombers lost. 600 families will receive telegrams. Barrett has escorted bombers to the German border 47 times. The procedure never varies. Climb to altitude, form up on the bomber stream, fly east until fuel state reaches minimum, turn west, leave the bombers, return to England. The same sick feeling in his stomach as he banks away. He knows what happens next. The bombers continue. German fighters attack. Nothing he can do about it from 200 miles away with an empty fuel tank. The P-47 Thunderbolt is remarkable. 7 tons of radial engine and armor plate. It dives like an anvil. It absorbs damage that would shred lesser fighters. Barrett has brought his Thunderbolt home with holes you could put your fist through, but it cannot escort bombers to Berlin. The numbers refuse to cooperate. Internal fuel, 305 gallons. Cruise consumption at 25,000 feet, approximately 70 gallons per hour. Combat consumption when fighting, double that. Triple during hard maneuvering. 4 hours total endurance minus takeoff, minus climb, minus reserve, minus combat allowance. Combat radius, 475 miles. Berlin sits 600 miles from England. One way. Barrett knows pilots who have tried to stretch it, who have throttled back past safe limits, who have glided on fumes. Some made it back. The North Sea claimed the rest. Water does not care about courage, so the Thunderbolts turn back at the German border and bomber crews die alone. This is the problem that cannot be solved, until it is. The P-51 Mustang exists because of failure. North American Aviation designed the aircraft in 1940 under British contract. The specification called for a fast, low-altitude fighter. Tactical ground attack, reconnaissance, not bomber escort. The airframe was brilliant. Laminar flow wing, low drag, sleek fuselage, aerodynamics years ahead of contemporary designs. But the engine was wrong. The Allison 5-1710, solid power plant, reliable, efficient below 15,000 feet. Above that altitude, it gasped. Power dropped, performance collapsed. The P-51 with an Allison engine became a mediocre high-altitude fighter. So it flew ground attack missions, reconnaissance. It did not escort bombers until someone had an idea. The British are fighting their own war. They need fighters. They test the P-51 with the Allison. They see potential in the airframe, and they see the limitation in the engine. They suggest replacement. The Rolls-Royce Merlin 61. Two-stage supercharging, intercooling, advanced fuel injection. The Merlin transforms at altitude. Where the Allison dies, the Merlin comes alive. Maximum power at 25,000 feet, 1,720 horsepower. Service ceiling, 41,000 feet. Top speed, 440 miles per hour. American skeptics question everything. British engines in American aircraft. Not invented here syndrome runs deep. Bureaucrats cite logistics, production complications, politics. The war does not care about politics. Packard Motor Company receives license to build the Merlin in the United States, the V16503, American manufacturing of British design, the engine that should not exist in an American fighter. When the Packard Merlin is mounted in the P-51 airframe, something remarkable emerges. Performance numbers are staggering, but one number matters more than any other. Range. Internal fuel capacity, 184 gallons in the fuselage, 275-gallon drop tanks under the wings. Total, 334 gallons usable. Fuel consumption at cruise, 40 gallons per hour at 25,000 feet. Efficient, miserly compared to the Thunderbolt. 8 hours endurance, minus takeoff and climb, minus combat reserve, minus actual combat at higher consumption. Combat radius 850 miles. For the first time, an American fighter can reach Berlin and return. Sterling Barrett first sees the P-51 in February 1944. He is transitioning out of the Thunderbolt, not by choice. The war demands it. The 357th Fighter Group at Debden is converting to Mustangs. Barrett is assigned to check out in the new aircraft. He approaches the flight line with skepticism. The Mustang looks fragile compared to the Thunderbolt. Narrow fuselage, liquid-cooled engine with vulnerable radiator scoop underneath. The whole aircraft seems delicate, designed for speed, not combat punishment. Crew Chief Vincent Caruso walks him through pre-flight. "She's lighter than what you're used to, Captain. 9,200 pounds fully loaded with drop tanks. The jug weighs 12,000. Barrett nods. Lighter means less damage absorption, less armor, more vulnerable. Caruso reads his mind. She's fast, and she's got legs the Thunderbolt never dreamed of. The cockpit is tight. The bubble canopy provides visibility Barrett has never experienced. He can see behind without craning his neck. No blind spots. The entire sky is visible. 650 caliber Browning machine guns, 3 per wing, 270 rounds per gun. Total ammunition load, 1,620 rounds. At standard firing rate of 800 rounds per minute, that equals approximately 20 seconds of continuous fire. No pilot wastes it. Trigger discipline separates kills from empty guns. The engine starts with smooth rumble. Different from the Thunderbolt's radial bark, the Merlin sounds refined, eager. Barrett taxis to the runway. Controls feel lighter than expected, less muscle required. The Mustang responds to thought as much as input. Takeoff is smooth. The aircraft accelerates rapidly. At 110 miles per hour, Barrett rotates. The Mustang leaps into the air, and he understands. Climb rate is exceptional, over 3,000 feet per minute at full power. The Thunderbolt climbs like freight elevator. The Mustang climbs like it wants to reach altitude before you finish the thought. At 15,000 feet, Barrett levels off. He pushes the throttle forward. Manifold pressure climbs to 61 inches. The Merlin roars. Airspeed indicator winds up. 300 miles per hour, 350, 400, 420. Controls remain crisp. No buffeting, no compressibility effects. The laminar flow wing delays shock formation. The Mustang was designed for this. Barrett pulls into climbing turn. 6 Gs. The aircraft responds instantly. Roll rate is exceptional. Better than the Thunderbolt, better than the Fokker-Wulf. But the real test is endurance. He throttles back to cruise. 46 inches manifold pressure, 2,400 RPM. Fuel flow drops to 40 gallons per hour. 8 hours potential endurance with drop tanks, even accounting for combat, unexpected maneuvers, reserve margins. Berlin is reachable for the first time. That evening, Barrett writes in his logbook, P-51B checkout. Aircraft performs as advertised. Range changes everything. March 5, 1944. The briefing room at RAF Debden is packed. Every seat filled. Pilots standing along walls. The mission board is covered with tarp. Security is tight. Group Commander Colonel James Howard steps to the podium. No preamble, no warm-up. Gentlemen, tomorrow we go to Berlin. The room goes silent. Berlin, the deepest target, most heavily defended city in the Reich, 600 miles from England, 1,200 miles round trip. Previous Berlin raids have been bloodbaths. Bombers attempted it before. Few escorts made it past outskirts. Loss rates approached 15%. Howard continues, 800 B-17S and B-24s. Primary target is ball-bearing plants. Secondary targets are rail yards and industrial sectors. Time over target, 1,100 hours. He pauses. Fighter escort will be continuous, all the way in, all the way out. Murmurs ripple through the room. Continuous escort to Berlin has never been done, cannot be done, except now it can. The 357th will provide close escort from IP to target and return. P-47 groups will handle outbound leg to German border. P-38 groups will sweep ahead. We stay with the bombers through the most dangerous phase. Barrett listens, he calculates. Take off at 600, form up by 6:45, intercept bombers at 7:40, escort to Berlin, combat over target, escort out, land by 1500, 9 hours. The P-47 cannot do it. The Mustang can. Howard unveils a map. Red lines trace the route. England to Holland, Holland to Hanover, Hanover to Berlin. Return leg follows different path to avoid concentrated flak. Expected opposition, heavy. Intelligence estimates 300 to 400 Luftwaffe fighters will be scrambled. Bf-109Gs, FW-190As. Possibly some 190Ds if we're unlucky. The FW-190D is new, liquid-cooled inline engine, fast, dangerous, rare. Rules of engagement are simple. Protect the bombers. If you see a bandit going for the heavies, kill it. If you have fuel and ammunition after escort duty is complete, you are cleared to hunt. Hunt, that is new. Previous missions have been strictly defensive. Stick with the bombers. No freelancing. The Mustang changes the equation. There is fuel to spare for offensive operations. One more thing, Howard's voice drops. This mission matters. If we can prove continuous escort to Berlin, the entire strategic bombing campaign changes. We prove it works or we prove it doesn't. There is no middle ground. Barrett feels the weight of it. This is not just another mission. This defines whether American daylight bombing is viable. If they fail, bombers keep dying at unsustainable rates. If they succeed, the war changes. Howard dismisses them. Briefing at 0500 tomorrow. Get some rest. You're going to need it. Barrett walks back to his quarters in darkness. The air is cold, damp, English winter seeping through flight jacket. He thinks about the mission. 9 hours in the cockpit, hours of focus, hours of potential combat. The Luftwaffe will not surrender the skies over Berlin easily. He thinks about fuel margins. Drop tanks provide range, but they also create drag and weight. Takeoff with full internal tanks plus two 75-gallon externals means 9,200 pounds. The Mustang will be heavy, sluggish until tanks are dropped. He thinks about the cooling system. One bullet through the radiator and the Merlin overheats in minutes. Engine seizure follows. Forced landing in enemy territory, capture or death. The P-47 could take that hit and keep flying. The Mustang cannot, but the P-47 cannot reach Berlin, and the Mustang can. Trade-offs. The entire war is trade-offs. Barrett reaches his quarters. Inside, he lays out gear for tomorrow. Flight suit, helmet, oxygen mask, gloves, Mae West life preserver, survival kit. He double-checks his sidearm. Colt 1911, 7 rounds. Not that it will matter if he goes down over Germany, but routine is comforting. He tries to sleep, fails. His mind runs through procedures: engine start, taxi, takeoff, formation, join up, navigation checkpoints, radio frequencies, emergency protocols, and combat. Always combat. The Bf-109G is formidable opponent. Experienced Luftwaffe pilots know their aircraft, know their tactics. They have been winning this war in the air for years. But they have not faced continuous escort to Berlin. They expect American fighters to turn back at the border. They expect to attack bombers alone in the Deep Reich. Tomorrow, they will be wrong. At 0400, Barrett gives up on sleep. He dresses, checks gear again, walks to mess hall. The briefing at 0500 is short. Weather, scattered clouds. Visibility good. Winds aloft from west at 40 knots. Favorable for return leg. Target photos. Flak concentrations. Known German fighter bases. Intelligence officer goes through it mechanically. Everyone has heard it before. At 0512, Barrett crosses the flight line to his aircraft. P-51B number 43-12450. Tail code G4-C. Nickname painted on cowling. Dakota Bell. Caruso is waiting. She's ready, Captain. Tanks topped off. Guns bore-sighted. Radios checked. She'll get you there and back. Barrett nods. He trusts Caruso. The man is meticulous. He climbs onto wing, settles into cockpit, straps in, 5-point harness. Tight across shoulders. The sky to east is beginning to lighten. False dawn. In 30 minutes, sun will break horizon. Barrett checks fuel gauges. Internal tanks, full. Drop tanks, full. Total, 334 gallons. The number that makes this mission possible. He checks armament panel. 6 guns charged. 1,620 rounds ready. He looks west. Somewhere beyond darkness, 800 bombers are starting engines, 4 engine fortresses laden with bombs. Crews who know that today they will fly deeper into Germany than ever before, and for the first time, they will not fly alone. Barrett reaches for starter. The Merlin catches. 12 cylinders fire in sequence. Propeller blades blur into disk. Manifold pressure, 30 inches. Oil pressure, rising. Coolant temperature, climbing into green. Radio crackles. All Dakota flights. This is Debden Tower. Winds are calm. You are cleared for taxi. Barrett releases brakes. The Mustang rolls forward. The impossible distance is about to become possible. Through fuel efficiency, through engineering, through a British engine in an American airframe. And today, March 6, 1944, the mathematics of air warfare are about to change. Takeoff is at 0601 hours. Sterling Barrett releases brakes. Dakota Bell accelerates down runway at RAF Debden. 9,200 pounds of aircraft, fuel, and ammunition. Heavy, the tail stays planted longer than usual. At 110 miles per hour, Barrett pulls back on stick. The Mustang lifts. Gear up. Hydraulic whine is immediate. Flaps retract. Airspeed climbs. Below, English countryside spreads out in pre-dawn grey. Fields divided by hedgerows, villages still dark. A country at war that has forgotten what peace looks like. Barrett climbs on course, heading 095. Rendezvous point is over North Sea at 25,000 feet. 23 other Mustangs from 357th Fighter Group are climbing with him. Silver aircraft catching first light of dawn. Formation tightens. 4 ship flights. Finger 4 tactical spread. Barrett leads his flight. 3 wingmen tucked in close. Radio discipline is tight. No chatter. Only essential calls. At 15,000 feet, Barrett checks oxygen flow. Regulator hisses with each breath. Air at altitude is thin, -40 degrees Celsius. Cold that seeps through flight suit and leather. Drop tanks hang heavy under wings, 75 gallons each. Extra drag, extra weight, but extra range, the difference between turning back and staying the course. By 0645, formation is complete. 24 P-51s in combat spread. Climbing through 22,000 feet, Barrett scans horizon. To west, bomber stream is forming. Hundreds of aircraft, B-17 flying fortresses rising from airfields across East Anglia, each one carrying 10 men, each one carrying 6,000 pounds of bombs. 800 bombers times 10 crew equals 8,000 men flying into most defended airspace in Europe. And for first time, they will not face it alone. At 0740, Mustangs level at 25,000 feet over North Sea. Barrett sees them, the bomber stream, formation that stretches for 30 miles. 4 engine fortresses in tight combat boxes, defensive guns bristling from every angle. But slow, cruising at 180 miles per hour, vulnerable, radio crackles. Dakota Leader, this is Big Friend. We see you. Welcome aboard. Big Friend, call sign for lead B-17 group. Barrett keys his mic. Big Friend, Dakota Leader, we've got you covered. All the way in, all the way out. A pause, then, copy that, Dakota. First time anyone said that to us, going to Berlin. The weight of it settles. These bomber crews have flown missions where escorts turned back, where they continued alone into flak and fighters, where men died in burning aircraft at 25,000 feet with no help coming, not today. Barrett positions his flight 2,000 feet above bomber stream, weaving gently, scanning. Visibility is good. Scattered clouds below at 15,000 feet. Clear sky above. Merlin engine hums smoothly. Manifold pressure steady at 46 inches. Oil temperature in green. Coolant temperature normal. Fuel state is good. Drop tanks are feeding. Internal tanks still full. Range is not a concern yet. At 0840, formation crosses Dutch coast. Below, Zuiderzee glints in morning sun. German-occupied territory. Flak batteries track bomber stream, but hold fire. Too high, out of range. Radio comes alive. All fighters, Big Friend. Bandits reported climbing from southeast. Altitude unknown, numbers unknown. Barrett's scan intensifies. Southeast, sun angle, classic German tactic. Climb high, attack from sun. Diving speed and blinding light. At 0912, formation crosses into German airspace. This is the point of no return, where P-47 Thunderbolts have always turned back, where fuel margins demanded westward turn, where bomber crews have always faced the rest of mission alone. Barrett checks fuel, drop tanks half empty, internal tanks full, total remaining 260 gallons. At current consumption, that is 6 hours endurance, more than enough to reach Berlin, fight, return. The Mustangs do not turn back. Bomber crews notice. Radio chatter increases. Relief, disbelief, hope. They're still with us. Mustangs are staying. First time, first damn time. Barrett does not respond. He scans, watches, waits. Somewhere ahead, Luftwaffe is scrambling. German radar has tracked this formation since it left England. Fighter controllers are vectoring interceptors. Messerschmitt Bf-109s and Focke-Wulf FW-19OHs are climbing hard, and they expect American escorts to be gone. At 09:27, Barrett sees them, contacts high, 11 o'clock, 30,000 feet, contrails etching white lines across blue sky. Dakota Flight Bandits high left, Bf-109S, estimate 12 plus. Messerschmitts are in attack formation, staggered line, positioning for diving pass on bombers, but they hesitate. The Mustangs are still here, 200 kilometers inside Germany, where no American fighter has maintained escort before. German formation wavers. They expect to hit unescorted bombers, not fighters at altitude with fuel to fight. Barrett makes decision. Dakota Flight drop tanks now, 4 clunks, 8 drop tanks tumble away. 150 gallons of fuel jettisoned, but 2,000 pounds of weight and drag gone. The Mustang transforms, lighter, faster, more agile. Barrett pushes throttle forward. Manifold pressure climbs to 61 inches. War emergency power. The Merlin screams. Dakota Flight, engage! Keep them off the bombers! Messerschmitts commit. They dive. Barrett pulls into climbing turn. 4 Gs. Horizon tilts. Mustang climbs at 4,000 feet per minute, intercepting diving 109 seconds. Physics governs fight. Energy states. Speed. Altitude. Position. Lead. Bf-109 is diving at 400 miles per hour. Barrett is climbing at 350. Closure rate, 750 miles per hour, 12 miles per minute. Range closes rapidly. At 1,000 yards, Barrett can see details. Black crosses on wings, ventral radiator scoop, the 109's elliptical wingtips. At 600 yards, he centers gun sight pipper. Deflection angle 20 degrees. The 109 is crossing left to right in shallow dive. Lead target, account for bullet drop, account for relative motion. At 400 yards, Barrett squeezes trigger. 6 50 caliber Browning machine guns fire. Mustang shudders. Tracers arc outward. Every 5th round is tracer. 4 solid ball rounds, 1 armor-piercing incendiary. Pattern repeats. Firing rate is 800 rounds per minute per gun. In 2-second burst, Barrett fires 160 rounds. He sees strikes, flashes on 109's left wing route. Metal tears. Fuel ignites. Messerschmitt snaps. Left. Smoke pours from wing. Pilot jettisons canopy. A figure tumbles out. Parachute blossoms white against blue sky. 1 engagement. 1 kill. 20 seconds elapsed, but 11 more 109s are diving toward bombers. Barrett reverses. Hard right turn. 6 Gs. Horizon spins. Grey creeps at edges of vision. He tenses legs. Fights G-load. Maintains consciousness. Mustang's laminar flow wing performs. No buffet. No stall warning. Just smooth responsive turn. He rolls wings level. Another 109 is below. Diving toward B-17, Barrett pushes nose down. Mustang accelerates. 420 miles per hour. 440. 460. Control forces increase but remain manageable. No compressibility. Wing design delays shock formation. Speed builds without penalty. The 109 pilot is focused on bomber. Tunnel vision. Fatal mistake. Barrett closes to 300 yards, fires, 3-second burst, 240 rounds, strikes walk-up fuselage. The 109's canopy shatters, aircraft rolls inverted, nose drops, spinning, uncontrolled, no parachute, 2 kills, 40 seconds total combat time. Barrett pulls out of dive, scans for threats. His wingmen are engaged. Tracers crisscross sky. A FW-190 flashes past. Another Mustang in pursuit. Bomber formation continues east. Steady, unbroken. German attack has been disrupted. Barrett checks fuel. Combat maneuvering burns fuel rapidly. Full throttle, high G turns. Consumption triples normal cruise. Fuel remaining 210 gallons. Still sufficient. Mission continues. By 09:45, immediate threat has passed. Luftwaffe fighters have disengaged, some damaged, some destroyed, the rest falling back to reassess. The equation has changed. They cannot ignore escorts, cannot attack bombers freely. Mustangs are here, at altitude, with fuel to fight. Bomber stream continues toward Berlin. Barrett's flight reforms. 4 aircraft, all present, minor damage to 1 Mustang. Hole in elevator, controllable. At 10:20, formation approaches Berlin. City spreads below, Germany's capital, industrial center, 3 million people. Ringed with anti-aircraft guns, defended by hundreds of fighters. Flak begins. Black puffs of smoke blossom at 25,000 feet. 88mm shells, proximity fuses, shrapnel spreads in lethal clouds. Bombers enter flak field, steady, no evasive action. Bomb run requires straight and level flight. Barrett watches. B-17S hold formation. Bomb bay doors open. Bombs fall. Thousands of pounds of high explosive and incendiary. Below, ball-bearing plants disappear in smoke and dust. Luftwaffe makes final attempt. 15 FW-1908s attack from ahead. Head-on pass. Closing speed over 600 miles per hour. Barrett turns into them. Dakota flight meet them head-on. The FW-190 has heavy nose armament. 4 20mm cannons, devastating firepower, but short range. Pilot must close to 400 yards. Barrett opens fire at 800 yards. Combined closure speed makes aiming difficult, but volume of fire compensates. 6 guns, 4,800 rounds per minute total. A stream of lead. FW-19 OAS fire back. Cannon shells flash past. 1 impacts B-17. Wing shears off. Bomber rolls, falls, but attack is broken. German fighters flash through formation. Disorganized, scattered. By 10:50, bombers have turned west. Mission complete. Now the long flight home. Barrett checks fuel. 160 gallons remaining, enough to escort bombers west. Enough for combat if needed. Enough to reach England. But mission briefing included one more directive. After escort duty, hunt. At 11:50, Barrett spots it. Below, a German airfield near Jüterbog. Fighters parked in dispersal. Fuel trucks, hangars. He makes call. Dakota 2, take the flight home with big friend. I'm going hunting. His wingman protests. Lead, that's not procedure. I have fuel, I have ammunition, I'm using both. Barrett rolls inverted, pulls. Mustang dives. Airspeed builds 400, 450, 500 miles per hour. Airframe shudders slightly. Still controllable. At 2,000 feet, he levels. Airfield spreads ahead. 3 FW-19OHs parked. Ground crews working. A fuel truck near hangars. Barrett lines up. Throttle full. Speed 480 miles per hour. Range 1,000 yards. He fires. Tracers rake across airfield. 50 caliber rounds punch through aircraft aluminum. Fuel tanks rupture. Fire blooms. Fuel truck explodes. Orange fireball. Black smoke. Ground fire responds. 20mm flak. Tracers arc upward. Too slow. Barrett is already past. He pulls into climbing turn. Checks 6 o'clock. Clear. Checks airfield. 2 FW-19OHs burning. Fuel truck destroyed. Hangar damaged. Strategic impact. Those aircraft will not fly tomorrow. That fuel will not reach other fighters. German sortie capacity reduced. But then he hears it, a sound that should not exist. Metal striking metal, sharp, distinct. He checks gauges, coolant temperature rising, not fast, but rising. He looks down. A thin stream of liquid trails from belly, glycol. Radiator has been hit. 1 bullet. 1 lucky shot from ground fire. Through vulnerable cooling system, the Merlin engine requires coolant. Overheating leads to seizure. Seizure leads to forced landing. Forced landing in Germany leads to capture or death. Barrett's training takes over. Throttle back, reduce power, lower temperature demand, climb for altitude. Altitude equals gliding distance. He keys radio. Dakota leader to any station. I've taken hit. Coolant leak heading west. Response is immediate. Dakota leader, this is rescue. What's your position? Approximately 80 miles southeast of Berlin. Climbing to 22,000 feet. Temperature is climbing slowly. Copy. We'll track you. Stay with it as long as you can. Barrett calculates. Distance to England, 380 miles. Fuel remaining, 140 gallons. At reduced throttle, consumption drops to 30 gallons per hour. Endurance, 4.5 hours. But coolant leak does not care about fuel. Engine will overheat. Question is when. Temperature gauge creeps upward. 100 degrees Celsius, 105, 110. Normal operating temperature is 90 degrees. Above 120, engine damage begins. Above 130, seizure is imminent. Barrett adjusts mixture, leans it out. Less fuel means less combustion heat. Buys time. Minutes, not hours. He climbs to 24,000 feet. Maximum altitude without increasing power. Every foot of altitude is potential gliding distance. English Channel is 280 miles ahead. At 12:20, coolant temperature hits 115 degrees. Barrett reduces power further. Manifold pressure down to 30 inches. Barely above idle. Airspeed drops to 200 miles per hour. He is gliding more than flying, trading altitude for distance. At 12:40, temperature reaches 120 degrees. Engine begins to run rough. Vibration through airframe. Misfiring. Coolant loss is critical. Barrett prepares for engine failure, identifies landmarks, roads, rivers, open fields. But he does not prepare to bail out. Not yet. Not while engine still turns. At 13:10, Mustang crosses into Allied-controlled Belgium. Recently liberated. Still contested, but not Germany. Temperature, 128 degrees. At 13:30, engine seizes. No warning, just sudden silence. Propeller windmills freewheeling, no power. Barrett is at 18,000 feet, gliding at 150 miles per hour. The Mustang is a glider now. Aerodynamics against gravity. Glide ratio is approximately 12:1. 18,000 feet equals 36 miles of gliding distance in ideal conditions. Wind is from west, 15 knots. Tailwind, helpful. Barrett scans ahead. He needs landing site, flat ground. Minimal obstacles, long enough for dead stick landing. At 13:45, he sees it. Emergency airstrip near Bruges. Recently captured. Barely operational, but it has runway. Distance, 8 miles. Altitude, 9,000 feet. Tight. He might make it. Barely. Barrett lowers landing gear. Hydraulic pressure is gone. He uses emergency system, compressed air. Gear clunks down. 3 green lights. No flaps, no hydraulics for flaps. Landing will be fast. At 1,000 feet, runway is ahead. Aligned. He is high, too high. Barrett slips aircraft. Cross controls, rudder right, aileron left. Mustang skids sideways, losing altitude without gaining speed. At 500 feet, he straightens, wings level. Aim for numbers. At 100 feet, runway threshold passes below. At 50 feet, Barrett flares, pulls back. Mustang settles, main gear touches, hard. Aircraft bounces, settles again. Tail wheel drops. No brakes, no hydraulics. Barrett lets Mustang roll. 400 yards, 300, 200. At 50 feet from wrecked B-24 at runway's end, Dakota Bell stops. Barrett sits, engine silent, coolant dripping, alive. He climbs out, legs shaking. A British Army medic runs toward him. "You all right, Yank?" Barrett looks at Mustang, bullet hole in radiator scoop, coolant pooled beneath, battle damage, survivable damage. The Mustang gave him time. "I'm here." Debrief comes later, at RAF Debden. Numbers tallied. Total bombers launched, 814. Total lost, 31. Loss rate, 3.8%. Previous Berlin raids without continuous escort. 10 to 15% losses. The difference? The Mustang. German fighters destroyed, 69 confirmed, damaged, unknown. Pilot losses, irreplaceable. Sterling Barrett's tally for the day, 2 Bf-109s destroyed, 1 airfield strafed, 1 aircraft damaged but recovered. Mission proves it. Continuous escort to Berlin is possible. Bomber losses are sustainable. Strategic bombing can continue. The air war has changed, not through courage, through range. And range exists through fuel efficiency, through engineering, through a Packard-built Merlin in a North American airframe. Statistics tell the story, and statistics do not lie. March 6th, 1944 is not the end. It is the beginning. Sterling Barrett flies again on March 8th. Different target, same distance, same result. Bombers reach objective. German fighters engage. Luftwaffe losses mount. Bomber losses remain sustainable. March 15th, another mission. March 22nd, March 29th. The pattern repeats, not through individual heroism, through mathematics compounding over time. This is how air wars are won, not in single battles, in accumulation. By April 1944, the data tells a story that no propaganda can obscure. American bomber loss rates on deep penetration missions 3 to 4% when escorted by Mustangs. Previous unescorted missions to similar targets 8 to 12%. The difference seems small, 3% versus 10%, but scale matters. 800 bombers per mission. 3% loss equals 24 aircraft. 8,000 crew members at risk. 240 killed or captured. 10% loss equals 80 aircraft. 800 crew members. 800 families receiving telegrams. Attrition warfare is brutal in its simplicity and decisive in its compound effects. German fighter losses tell the inverse story. Before the Mustang, Luftwaffe interceptors chose when to fight. They could attack bombers, disengage, refuel, return, repeat. With continuous escort, that option disappears. German fighters must engage American escorts to reach bombers. They must fight at altitudes where Merlin engine excels. They must burn fuel climbing. They must accept combat on American terms. Kill ratio reflects this shift. Various Mustang groups report different figures, but the pattern is consistent. 10 to 1, 12 to 1, 15 to 1 in some squadrons. For every P-51 lost in air combat, 10 to 15 German fighters are destroyed. The Luftwaffe cannot sustain this exchange rate. Pilot training pipelines cannot replace losses. Experienced pilots die. Replacement pilots arrive with 150 flight hours, some with less than 100. Barrett sees the difference in the air. By May 1944, German attacks become less coordinated. Formations break apart earlier. Some pilots refuse to press attacks when Mustangs appear. Others press anyway. They do not return. Barrett flies his 23rd Mustang mission on May 12th. Target: oil refineries near Merseburg. Heavy flak. Multiple fighter engagements. He shoots down a Bf-109 flown by a pilot who makes fundamental mistakes. Poor energy management, predictable breaks. The German fighter dies from inexperience. No victory in that, just confirmation of a system collapsing. By June 1944, the Luftwaffe in the West is fragmented. Fighter units operate at reduced strength. Aircraft availability drops due to maintenance shortfalls. Fuel becomes scarce. Training hours are cut. June 6, 1944. D-Day. Barrett launches at 0430. Mission profile is different, not deep escort. Air superiority patrol over Normandy beaches. He flies 3 sorties that day. 9 hours total flight time. Sees 2 FW-190Ks. They flee immediately when they spot Mustangs. No engagement. The beaches below are chaos. Landing craft. Troops wading through surf. Artillery fire. Smoke. But overhead, the sky belongs to the Allies. German aircraft that attempt to approach landing zones are intercepted 50 miles inland. destroyed before they reach coast. Air superiority was not won on June 6th. It was won over Berlin in March, over Hanover in April, over Mersburg in May. The Mustang made D-Day possible. Not on the day of invasion, in the months before. Barrett understands this. Strategic bombing campaign broke Luftwaffe's ability to contest invasion. The Mustang enabled strategic bombing campaign. Causation chains through time. One capability enables another, which enables another. By August 1944, Barrett has flown 47 Mustang missions, 7 confirmed kills, 3 probables, 4 different aircraft, Dakota Bell, Dakota Bell 2, Dakota Bell 3, Dakota Bell 4, each one damaged, each one repaired or replaced. The P-51 is not invincible. It burns when hit. Cooling system remains vulnerable. Barrett has seen Mustangs go down. Good pilots killed by single bullets through radiator, but advantages outweigh vulnerabilities. Range, performance, firepower. Sufficient for the mission. In September, Barrett is rotated stateside, training duty. His combat tour is complete. 89 missions, 63 in Mustangs, 7 kills, survived. Many did not. The war in Europe ends in May 1945. Germany surrenders. The Luftwaffe ceases to exist as fighting force. Post-war analysis confirms what pilots already knew. The P-51 Mustang achieved one of the highest air-to-air success rates of the war. Kill ratios ranging from 11:1 to 15:1, depending on unit and time frame. More importantly, it enabled strategic bombing to continue at sustainable loss rates. Without the Mustang, American daylight bombing doctrine might have failed. Barrett leaves the Army Air Forces in 1946, returns to civilian life, flies for an airline. Boring compared to combat. Safe. In 1948, the newly formed United States Air Force redesignates the P-51 as the F-51. Same aircraft, different name, different era. Jet fighters are entering service, F-80 Shooting Stars, F-84 Thunderjets. Fast, modern, the future, but jets are expensive, maintenance intensive, still developing. And when war breaks out in Korea in June 1950, the Air Force needs aircraft immediately. Ground attack aircraft, close air support, aircraft that can operate from rough forward airstrips. The F-51 Mustang fits. Barrett is 35 years old when recall notice arrives. Reserves activated, report for duty. He does not have to go. He has a family now, 2 children, a job, a life beyond the cockpit, but part of him wants to see how the Mustang performs in a different war. He reports to Nellis Air Force Base in October 1950. Transition training for Korea. The aircraft is familiar. Same cockpit, same engine, same handling. But the mission is different. Not bomber escort. Ground attack. Briefings make it clear. Air superiority in Korea belongs to jets. F-86 Sabres against MiG-15's high-altitude combat. Supersonic speeds. The F-51 cannot compete in that arena. The Mustang is obsolete as interceptor, but it can carry bombs and rockets. It can loiter over targets. It can operate from damaged runways. It can provide close air support to ground forces locked in brutal combat across mountainous terrain. Barrett arrives in Korea in December 1950, assigned to 18th Fighter Bomber Wing, based at K-14 Airfield, flying F-51s against Chinese and North Korean forces. The first mission is revelation, and not pleasant one. Target supply convoy moving south, roads packed with trucks and troops, heavy anti-aircraft fire. Barrett leads 4-ship flight. Each Mustang carries 6 5-inch rockets and 2 500-pound bombs. Attack run is low, 500 feet. Speed, 350 miles per hour. Ground fire is intense. 37mm flak. Small arms, tracers everywhere. Barrett pickles his bombs, pulls up hard. 6 Gs, clears target area. Behind him, his wingman's Mustang streams white vapor. Coolant. The same vulnerability that nearly killed Barrett over Germany in 1944. But in Germany, there were emergency fields. Allied territory nearby. Options. In Korea, over enemy lines, there are no options. Wingman's engine seizes at 3,000 feet. Pilot bails out, parachute deploys. He lands behind enemy lines, captured, if he survives landing. Barrett thinks about it that night. In 1944, the Mustang's liquid-cooled engine was acceptable risk. Engine damage meant forced landing in France or Belgium. Allied territory. Rescue possible. In Korea, engine damage over enemy territory means capture or death. The vulnerability that was tolerable in Europe is catastrophic here. But there are no alternatives, not enough jets, not enough specialized attack aircraft. The F-51 must do the job. Barrett flies 38 missions in Korea over 4 months. Ground attack, interdiction, close air support. He sees Mustangs shot down by ground fire regularly. Liquid cooling system is fatal weakness against mass, small arms fire. In March 1951, Barrett's F-51 takes hits during napalm strike on bridge. 23mm cannon fire. 2 rounds through lower fuselage. 1 grazes coolant line. Temperature climbs. Same scenario as Germany, but this time he is over friendly territory. Heads north, nurses the engine, lands at K-14 with temperature gauge in red. Crew chief shakes his head. Captain, this bird got lucky. That cooling system is going to kill someone eventually. Barrett knows he is right. The aircraft that dominated European skies in 1944 is struggling in Korea in 1951. Not from changes to the Mustang, from changes to the war. In 1944, range was everything. The Mustang had range. In 1951, survivability against ground fire is everything. The Mustang has vulnerabilities. Different wars demand different tools. Barrett completes his Korea tour in April 1951. Returns stateside, resigns his commission, age 36. Done with combat, the F-51 continues flying in Korea until 1953. Losses are heavy, but it performs the mission until F-84, Thunderjets and other specialized attack aircraft arrive in sufficient numbers. The Mustang's combat career ends where it began, doing a job it was not originally designed for. And doing it well enough. Sterling Barrett does not fly fighters again. He returns to airline work, flies DC-6s, then DC-8s, then Boeing 707s, civilian aviation, scheduled routes, routine. But the Mustang does not disappear. It transforms. In the 1960s, surplus F-51s are sold to civilian buyers. Some become racing aircraft, modified, stripped of military equipment, engines tuned beyond wartime limits. Barrett attends the Reno Air Races in 1965, watches Mustangs scream past pylons at 500 miles per hour, low altitude, maximum power, pilots pushing airframe to limits that would have been unthinkable in combat. The aircraft he flew in 1944 at 25,000 feet over Berlin is now racing machine. Purpose repurposed, legacy redefined. In 1974, a documentary crew contacts Barrett. They are filming the history of the P-51. Veteran interviews, historical footage, technical analysis. Barrett agrees to participate. Age 59, grey hair, civilian suit, no resemblance to the 29-year-old fighter pilot in archival footage. Interviewer asks standard questions. What was it like? Were you scared? Did you feel like a hero? Barrett answers honestly. It was cold, it was exhausting, and no, we did not feel like heroes. We felt like we were doing calculations. Fuel consumption, ammunition count, deflection angles. The Mustang gave us the numbers we needed. We just executed, interviewer presses. But the Mustang changed the war. Doesn't that make it the greatest fighter of World War II? Barrett considers this. Greatest is the wrong word. Most necessary is accurate. We had bombers that could reach targets. We had bombs that could destroy them. We did not have fighters that could escort the bombers and return. The Mustang closed that gap. It was not the fastest fighter, not the toughest, not the most heavily armed, but it had range, and in 1944, range mattered more than anything else. Interviewer tries again. What do you remember most about flying it? Barrett's answer is immediate. The fuel gauges. I remember watching fuel gauges, calculating endurance, planning reserve margins. The Mustang won the war through having enough fuel to stay in the fight. Everything else was secondary, not the answer the interviewer wanted, but the truth. In 1989, Barrett attends a Mustang reunion. Veterans from various fighter groups, men now in their 70s, grey, slow, but still alive. They stand beside a restored P-51D, silver skin polished, markings crisp, museum piece. Barrett touches the wing, the laminar flow surface that reduced drag, that enabled range, that made the mission possible. Someone asks him to pose for photo. He stands beside aircraft, 74 years old, remembering 29. That night, conversations turn to legacy. What the Mustang meant, what it accomplished. Some men talk about dogfights, individual victories, aerial combat. Barrett listens, then speaks. Before the Mustang, we watched bombers go beyond 400 miles alone. After the Mustang, we stayed with them to 800 miles. That gap was killing hundreds of men every week. We closed it. That is what mattered. The room goes quiet. It is true. The Mustang's legacy is not individual kills. It is systemic change, enabling a strategic campaign that could not otherwise succeed. One of veterans mentions Korea, the losses, the vulnerability. Barrett nods. The Mustang taught me that dominance is temporary. In 1944, we had the right tool for that war. In 1951, we did not. Technology does not care about glory. It only cares about mission fit. Sterling Barrett dies in 1996, age 81, heart failure, peacefully. His daughter finds a letter in his desk afterward, written years earlier, never sent. The envelope reads, "To whoever asks what the Mustang meant." Inside, one paragraph in his neat handwriting. People want to know about the kills, the dogfights, the glory. But that was never the story. The story was watching bomber crews, kids, most of them, strap into aircraft that couldn't be protected past the German border, watching them go in alone, watching empty hard stands when they didn't come back. The Mustang didn't make us heroes. It gave us enough fuel to do what we'd been trying to do all along, bring them home. That's all. That's everything. The letter is dated March 6, 1974. 30 years to the day after Berlin, his family donates it to the National Air and Space Museum. It sits in an archive, 3 paragraphs, 68 words, the truth in his own voice. The data endures without sentiment. 15,686 P-51 Mustangs built between 1940 and 1945. Estimated 4,950 air-to-air kills in World War II. Bomber loss rates reduced from double digits to 3% on escorted missions. Thousands of aircrews who landed safely when fighters stayed with them. Service life spanning 42 years across multiple wars and air forces, from 1942 to 1984. From piston to jet age, from dominance to obsolescence to legend. The aircraft that should not have existed, born of a failed engine, saved by foreign design, built by American industry, deployed at the exact moment when range mattered more than speed or firepower or armor. Not perfect, vulnerable. The cooling system claimed pilots who made one wrong turn, but sufficient. Wars end, men die, data remains, and one truth outlasts all others. The P-51 Mustang did not win from invincibility. It won from staying in the fight long enough to bring people home. Range equals survival. Survival enables mission completion. Missions win wars. Sterling Barrett understood this at 29, watching fuel gauges over Berlin. At 36, nursing a damaged engine over Korea. At 74, touching a restored wing and remembering what it meant to have enough. Enough fuel, enough time, enough altitude to glide when the engine quit, enough margin to survive mistakes. The most important word in engineering, the difference between telegram and homecoming. In March 1944, enough changed everything, and that is the P-51 Mustang's story. Not mythology, mathematics, the compound interest of small advantages sustained over time until cumulative weight becomes irresistible. One aircraft, 9 hours over Germany, repeated until the enemy breaks. Simple, brutal, sufficient.